Now, you know what pisses me off is that this is not my first attempt at trying to record this video. I'm late as it is, and this is getting on my nerves slightly. So I'll start all over again. Matt Arroyo and Dan Kramer don't really care very much, but interesting to note, Matt Arroyo is 3-2 and Dan Kramer from Tough is 0. So that's interesting. Actually, Arroyo is 1-1 in the UFC so far. I'm going for him by armbar in the second. Jake O'Brien and Christian Wellish. I support Wellish. I do like him. He's 8-4 and Jake O'Brien is 10-2. However, they both usually win and lose by TKOs. But O'Brien has lost 2 in a row, and I do hope this will be his third loss with Christian Wellish. So I've gone for TKO in the first there. Chris Wilson, 14-4, is facing John Howard, 10-4, in his UFC debut. I'm going for Chris Wilson. I think I'm going for him by decision, despite the fact that he usually wins by TKO or sub, because I've become a little wary of some of the debutees in the UFC and writing them off. You know what I mean? Assuming that people are going to blow through them. So I'm going for his win by decision there. I haven't made a prediction on the Manny Gamborian and Thiago Tavares fight because I don't really care, but it is interesting to note that Thiago is 13-3 and has lost the last 2 in a row, and Manny Gamborian is only 8-3, and whilst I wouldn't call him a sub, it's very interesting to note that I think he's supposed to lose this battle. John Fitch and Akihiro Gono. Fitch is 17-3 and can usually win by anything, so that's not a problem. Akihiro Gono has some stupid record, 29-13, but he loses to most of the named guys he fights, including Dan Henderson, Riwa and Dennis Kang. So I've gone for John Fitch by decision on that one. Nathan Diaz and Clay Guida. I'm calling this the upset of the night. The reason being is that if Diaz actually wants to get anywhere in that lightweight division, he has to start conquering these sort of big names. Now, the only big name in his history is Hermes Franca, who is the only guy to have submitted him. He's got 10-2 at the moment, and he's fighting Guida 24-9. I'm going to say that he really has to win this one in order to sort of move up the scale of things in that division. I've gone for a submission. I've gone for a chokehold. I don't know. I'm calling it an upset because anyway, so there's that one. Karo Parisian, 18-5, is facing Dong Hyun Kim, who is 11-0. Parisian usually wins by submission or decision. All his submission wins are pre the UFC. As soon as he hit the UFC, he started to win only by decision. So I'm going to go for a decision again here. Stephen Bonner and John Jones is another match that I'm not particularly interested in, it has to be said. And I made 2 contradictory decisions here because I couldn't decide which one to go for. Stephen Bonner is interesting because he has wins over people like Keith Jardine and Eric Schaffer. But the main problem with him is that he hasn't fought since 2007. There is such a thing as ring rust. He mainly wins by submission, and he mainly loses by decision. I think that if he is going to win, he will win by submission. However, I'm going to say that John Jones is probably no pushover because he usually wins by TKO and his record is 7-0. So I'm going for him by decision as well. So I'd be interested to see which one of those two plays out. Lyoto Machida and Thiago Silva. Now, people keep going on about the fact that Lyoto is like 13-0. Well, so is Silva actually. although that his only name is Houston Alexander, and Makita's got all sorts of people, you know. In fact, he's got BJ Penn in his history. He's also got Rich Franklin. I would like nothing better for Thiago Silva to win, because I believe that if Lyoto wins this one, which I think he will by decision, then he's probably in line for a title shot. Might succeed, and then we don't just have a glass ceiling in that division, we also have a bit of a bore. I know this from personal experience because I saw him at UFC 70, and he might get the job done, but his style is quite boring to watch. So there we are. The main event, George St. Pierre and BJ Penn. Now this is an interesting one because Penn has everything to gain and nothing to lose. GSP has nothing to gain but everything to lose. The reason being is that if GSP wins, he keeps his title. Not a problem. If he loses, he loses his title. He cannot win Penn's title through this, but Penn can win his. So there's a lot more riding on it for that. Now, my official prediction on this is that I think BJ Penn will win. I think it will come by TKO in the third round. The reason I don't put it any later than that is that Penn's major weakness is the effort that he puts in and the cardio that he has the longer it goes on. I think if we reach the fourth or fifth round, he's going to be very lucky to win. Penn is also an interesting one because he's possibly the best pure skill fighter in the world. Don't care for his character at all, think he's an arse, think he stinks, but it has to be said. He's shown this because his actual natural weight class is the 155 pound category, but he is good enough if he is on the top form to beat GSP in a class above. So that needs to be remembered. He is actually that good. He's best known on the ground because he finishes that way, but we mustn't forget that he has pretty good striking as well. Possibly not on a par with GSP, I don't know. I think they might cancel each other out there. It might end up being a bit of a ground war, and I don't know whether if Penn can't get a submission, you see, through that, then GSP is likely to lie on him for, 25 minutes. So, it's got the potential to be fantastic, but it's also got the potential to be a little bit dire, depending on how it goes. My hope is that Penn wins, and that's not because I like him anymore. I think if he wins, that eliminates GSP from that weight class for a while. I think he will have to sort of fight others before he goes back up. What I think with Penn is that he can't hold two belts simultaneously in different weight classes without overstretching himself, and I think he'll end up losing both of them in quick succession if he wins them. This of course frees both the welterweight division and the lightweight division up to all those fantastic people who are fighting in those divisions but who are unable to sort of break through the glass ceiling, so to speak. So my hope is that, the outcome of this match leads to Penn winning and the sort of dismissal of GSP as an immediate champion, and then before this year's out, Penn has possibly exhausted himself and lost both titles as well. Pleasant.